Willie Mandrell, welcome to the Human Capital Innovations Podcast.
I appreciate you having me on.
Yeah, thank you for joining me today. I'm excited to have this conversation. You come to us with extensive expertise in the real estate and investing areas, and I don't usually interview people from that sector, but you have a really interesting take on the conversation that we're going to have today, focusing on scaling your business through leveraging your people. And I do appreciate being able to explore that, not only generally, but also within the investing kind of framing and the real estate framing. As we get started, I wanted to share Willie's bio with everybody. Willie J. Mandrell is a self-made multimillionaire real estate investor, broker, coach, lecturer, and author. As a buyer, seller, and broker, he's been involved with well over 200 million in real estate transactions. He has been featured in numerous trade magazines, and he is a frequent guest on real estate and wealth-related podcasts, television, and radio shows across the US. Willie is the author of Cash Flow Secrets, a book on real estate investing and finance tips most people are never taught but need to know. Willie is also a member of the Forbes Real Estate Council. William prides himself on staying current with local sales and rental trends. He has a real passion for the multifamily industry and specializes in representing buyers and sellers of income-producing properties. He strives to share his knowledge and experiences with every client and make every buyer and seller representation a pleasant and rewarding experience. Prior to entering the real estate field, Willie spent several years working in the banking and financial services industries for firms such as Bank of America and Cattell & Co. Inc. During his corporate years, he earned several industry licenses, including the Series 7, 24, 65, and 53. This valuable experience in the investment world has allowed Willie to become an expert in evaluating the risk and rewards of various investment assets, including real estate. Willie earned his bachelor's degree from Northeastern University and is currently working on his master's in business from Suffolk University in Boston. Again, it's a wonderful privilege to have you joining me today, Willie. Thanks. And anything else you would like to share by way of background or personal context with the audience before we launch into the conversation?
No, I mean, speaking of leveraging your people, I'm not sure which one of my assistants wrote that bio, but that was the longest intro ever. I mean, that pretty much sums it up. That tells you everything besides the fact that I have two kids and I'm married and I live right outside of Boston myself. Other than that, that is my professional background in a nutshell.
Great, excellent. And if you don't mind me sharing, in the pre-interview before we hit record, we were just chatting a little bit, and because you're stuck in traffic with a bad accident in the area, you're pulled off on the side of the road doing this podcast interview from your car, and I can see your child's car seat in the back seat. Wonderful. I have 6 children myself. I know what it's like, and it's a good fun times.
Yeah, I have two and 4. So if I lean, we can lean over a little bit more. You can see the second child seat in the car. It's one for each passenger's seat. But yeah, two and 4. It's a great age. My son is 2, my daughter is 4, and they are just at an age where it's just it's just wonderful. I mean, it's just they're engaging, they're talking, they're learning. It's it's a wonderful age. My wife prefers them at the baby stage where they're not really moving, they're not running around, there's no danger to themselves. I really don't like that stage. I like them, with the attitude, with the stubbornness. I like, the engagement. So this is it's a great time for me.
Well, and that's funny that you say that. My wife and I have a theory. People always talk about the terrible twos, at least for our kids. 2 wasn't really so bad. It was kind of the 3-year-old stage where they started to get really stubborn and cranky. I don't know if that fits with your experience, but
no, it's very much in line. Yeah, very much in line.
Well, good. So this isn't actually a parenting podcast, but it's nice to connect there. But clearly you have a ton of experience in the financial services industry and investing and real estate. That's wonderful. I hope that you'll weave that expertise and those experiences in as we go throughout this conversation. But we are going to be focusing on scaling business and leveraging your people in order to scale in a sustainable way. And you just happen to come at that from your area of expertise within finance and real estate and investing. So let's first paint a picture for the audience a little bit about what it looks like in your experience in the industry, in organizations, in the financial services area in terms of growth and scaling. And then, maybe we can explore that a little bit more generally as organizations outside of the financial services might also be looking to scale.
Yeah, I would say I'm in the real estate industry, not financial service, strong background in financial services, but yeah, I mean, for just in terms of scaling, I think, hiring my first assistant, hiring that first person is what a lot of people, don't do. There's just general belief as an entrepreneur, as somebody who's building a business, that only you can do what you do. Only you can produce the results, the great results, and that your clients and your customer base are attached and in love with with you, but they're actually in love and attached with your in love with your results, right? The results that you produce. And it took me a long time to get over that hurdle. And I think a lot of entrepreneurs suffer with that. And that's why they turn into, or they stay mom and pop shops, and they never really scale or never really grow, because they're stuck in this mindset of only I can produce these results and my clients love me. When in fact, I think you should treat your business more like, and I talk to people about this all the time, treating your business more like McDonald's treats it, right? McDonald's is, I tell a story all the time about people, and when I was 16, I was in high school and I got my worker's permit, and I went to go work at McDonald's, and within 2 weeks, I knew how to use the fryer later, I was flipping burgers, I was doing the cashier, I was running the drive-through, and I thought I was the man. I thought I was like, I should be running this whole restaurant. And the reason that was, 20 years later, I realized, is not because I was the man and I had some special set of skills. It was because McDonald's had the best procedures and documentation of the way things should be done the right way in place. So they're the model, right? I mean, that you should be trying to get to, regardless of whether you're in the real estate business or something else. It should be documenting the things that you do well, putting procedures in place, and then handing those procedures off to somebody else. And when I did that, when I finally realized that that was the thing that I was supposed to do, my business just took off. I did it basically for everything. I would, in my real estate business, I would figure out how the best way to attend a foreclosure, an auction foreclosure, pick up a property, the right way to price it out, negotiate it, do my rental comparable sales. And then I took that procedure, documented everything I was doing correctly, found the best way to get it done, put it into a procedure, and handed it off to somebody else, and went on and did the next thing, and created another procedure for that. After I was able to do that, your business just really scales. I went from hiring one assistant to virtually, I think, 25 different virtual assistants around the world that are involved in my business in some aspect of it right now, 20 different agents that work with the company, and then a lot of different subcontractors in various places as well.
Yeah, I think that's a really great point you make. And part of it's ego, that we don't feel like anyone else can do what we do. And, we're really high on our own skills and abilities. And in part, that's why we're entrepreneurs and why we are willing to venture out and take the risk. But it's not all ego. It's also just frugality. It's bootstrapping. You get into the mindset of, I can do this, and you kind of wear all the hats, and you just get comfortable and in that zone. So coupling those pieces together, for whatever the reason is, when you're just doing everything yourself, no matter how good your product or service is, no matter how good your relationships with your customers are, you can't scale because you have a limited bandwidth. And I don't care how much of a genius you are, you need good people around you.
That's
And
exactly
so,
right.
and so at some point you take that leap, and I get it. Like that's a hard leap to take when you hire that first person, because now all of a sudden you have salary and benefits that you're paying out, and you're wondering, is it really going to be worth it? Am I going to make, are we going to increase productivity enough to warrant having this position or these positions? But over time, as you start to train and share with them how to do these processes well, like you described, then you can become way more productive, because you just have more people. You have the brain bank is full now, because you have more people not only sharing in the workload of getting stuff done, but also sharing their own insights, their own expertise, their own creativity, their own ideas. And I don't know, I don't want to put words into your mouth, but I suspect that, as you lay out the protocols, the procedures of all these different tasks that need to be done, you hand it off to the person, let them start to run with it so they know how to do it. But over time, they make it their own, and they can start to exercise their own autonomy and their own creativity to do the tasks and the position in the way that makes sense for them and fits for them. Can you speak to that for a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I don't hire anybody. What I don't want is a yes man or a yes woman that's going to come in and say, yes, Willie, this is exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to follow your procedures to the letter. But the procedures are there as a guideline. Again, unlike McDonald's, you want if the burger needs to be flipped in 15 seconds, you want to do exactly that, right? If the fries need to be going down in 500-degree oil and pulled up in 2 minutes, you want to do exactly that. Unlike McDonald's, I leave some wiggle room because real estate is a unique business in the sense that there was no property that's exactly like the next property, right? I mean, every address in America is different than the next. It doesn't matter if we're in the same city. There's very similarities in terms of when they were built and issues and everything else. But you need to leave some wiggle room for your people to, make adjustments to those procedures and everything else. So what I do is I try to go out and hire the best people. And when typically what I do, and it's weird to take this approach, but I don't find how do I put this? I don't find a need and then go out and try to force a person into that position. What I do is I kind of reverse it. I go out and find good people and then try to pull them into my business. So I go out and I say, she's really good at this. If you're ever looking for a change, come over. Like I said, I'd like to talk to you.
I like
and fit you into my business. He's really talented at XYZ. They're not paying you enough. Come talk to me, and like I said, so that's more or less the people that have been with me. There are a lot of virtual assistants that, in the Philippines, and I have people in Ghana and, all over the world where, yes, I created a position, a need, and filled the need with a body. But in most cases, it's the reverse. It's me going out and meeting people within the industry and saying, you know what, you're really talented. I had I do some banking at Bank of America, a local branch in Bank of America, and there was a girl that was there, and we had talked for years, and she was really just above and beyond when it came to her customer service there at the branch. And we got to talking, and now she's my acquisitions assistant. So it's just pulling, when you are out in the market and you're meeting people and you recognize talent, pulling that talent close to you and pulling that talent into your business is going to be the best thing to help you scale. If I can reverse, I'd like to touch on one point that you made before. The frugal nature of people, where, let's say, for instance, you're making $100,000 and you're the only employee, it's just you're an independent contractor, and you're afraid that if you hire somebody at 40 grand, that now you're only going to be making $60,000. That's a false narrative that you're cooking up in your head. That shouldn't be the case. And if that's the case, you've hired the wrong person, or you didn't teach them how to produce. If you hire somebody at 40,000, your income should balloon. It shouldn't stay at 100,000. Your income should go up, because that person has taken a load of marketing responsibilities, admin responsibilities, a whole bunch of other things that you're doing day to day. You are now no longer need to be doing. Therefore, you can now spend more time going out and getting the next client and building your business, more time on marketing, more time on podcasts, whatever it may be, that builds your brand, that continues to build your business. So that was another thing that I got out of that narrative, that if I'm making 100 grand, I hire somebody for 40,000. Now I'm only making 60 grand. That's not the case. That $40,000 employee should at least bump your income up to at least cover their salary. If not, it should be, bumping you up closer to 200 grand,
Right.
And that's the way you should be looking at it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it's really a fear-based mentality, right? Which is a bit ironic, because I think entrepreneurs tend to be, willing to embrace risk. Otherwise, they wouldn't be entrepreneurs. They'd be working for a big corporation. But there is something, there's kind of this mental hurdle for a lot of people. It's either themselves, or maybe it's a little family-run business, and the idea of scaling is just a little bit, a bridge too far for them to go. But if we can get past that mental block and just invest in people to help us, then we absolutely can scale. And to your point, you hire that person at 40 grand. Chances are, if you handle it well, you get a good person in there, and you manage the dynamic well, it should probably bump you up at least to double your current, if you're making 100 grand, up to 200 grand or more. And then you can start hiring more people and start to scale over time. And you can do it, you can do it iteratively and scalably and sustainably. You don't have to go out and hire 10 people right off the bat and then try to figure out how to get revenues to catch up.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And the other fear that people have is, well, I train this person, and this is a real thing as well. And this goes back to the procedures and everything else, is I train this person and then they leave. And then I train another person, and then they leave. And both, that's where your procedures come into place. You're spending a lot of energy training this person when they come in, and you need to be documenting as much as possible. One of the things that really helped me balloon, the kind of the business and really scale, was creating video procedures. I would hop on YouTube and just create a special page on my channel. I have my marketing channel, and then on the backside of that channel, which are private videos that are only access to my team. So when they needed to fill out a buyer form or a piece of paperwork or a seller form, or needed to go on a listing appointment, what are the things that I need to do? I was sick and tired of waking up at 1 o'clock in the morning or doing this at middle of the night. I said, you know what, there's got to be an easier way. And people nowadays are too, let's call it, what is it, lazy to read. They're not going to read written procedures. So the easiest thing for me to do was to hop on something just like I'm doing with you right now and just talk to the camera. And that way they can now watch it at 1 o'clock in the morning, rewind it. What did Willie say? Fast forward it, get to the good stuff. And I just created a bunch of videos. I think at one point we had 50 to 100 just training videos within our company. And made them searchable, put them on the back of a website, and just made them really clickable and searchable, and created almost like an intranet, like a big corporation would have, but we're a small business. And that's something that should be really easy, whether you're running a bakery or you're running a auto body shop, or you're in something a little bit more white collar. You should be able to create a YouTube video, record it, put it on a platform, and have your employees watch that and be up and running in no time.
I love that tip. That is so inexpensive to do. And to your point about writing out procedures, not only do people not tend to read them or pay full attention to written procedures, but it takes a lot of time to do that, to do that well. It's way faster to just hop on a video, and especially if you have the years of experience and the expertise, then you just spend 5-10 minutes, you explain something, and boom, you're there. And with platforms like YouTube, it's super easy to do. So that's a great tip. Something else that you said a minute ago that I wanted to zoom in on and really highlight was how you were talking about just keeping your eye out for talent anywhere you go. Now, sometimes we do have a specific job that needs to be filled, a specific niche with it, with a specific skill set, capabilities, and competencies. And so we post a job and we get applicants and we go through that normal process. But I love your approach to just looking for good talent everywhere you go. If you're always looking for people who are just talented, good customer service skills, they're good communicators, they're just aware, they're present. These soft skills that you can teach them the technical skills of doing this process, that process, filling out this paperwork, whatever. That's easy. It's hard to find good people who are people of integrity, who are going to be consistent, good workers,
Absolutely.
and just good with your customers. And so we should always be keeping our eye out. And you can find talent in, sometimes the most interesting places where you would never expect it.
The last thing I would say to that is, when you find talent, don't be afraid to pay them. Absolutely don't be afraid to pay them. One of the things that I try to do on a regular basis, when I was in corporate America, I prided myself on being in going above and beyond. The guy or the girl that was sitting next to me, if they did this, I needed to go and be above and beyond that. And that's just who I am. And that's, the company loved it. But what I always found is I always had to go back to the company and say, I feel like I deserve XYZ. I feel like I deserve a little bit more. I feel like this and that. I didn't like doing that because it creates an awkward situation for me, the employee, and you, the employer. I am always proactively looking for a reason to give bonuses, to give a raise. And I want to do that before my employee comes to me, because the other side of it is I was also a very ambitious person, and I jumped, not proud of it, but I mean, it was a fact. I jumped from job to job because I knew that the easiest way for me to get a raise was to go to another company, show them my value, show them my new skill set, and have them give me a new, negotiate my new salary on the way in. To avoid my employees and my people having to do that, employees, subcontractors, anybody else, I proactively go to them and say, you know what, you're worth more. And the thing about it is I don't give them huge jumps, but just the small incremental increase puts us back in the mindset of I'm being appreciated, I'm being noticed, the things that I'm doing are not going unnoticed. And a dollar raise can go a long way. I mean, a 50-cent raise can go a long way depending on what they're already making, right? If they're a $25 an hour employee, maybe it's $1. If they're a $10 employee, maybe it's a 50-cent raise. But just recognizing them before they have to have and come sit down with that conversation with you is a great way to make sure that your turnover stays low, for the long haul.
Absolutely. And it's actually one of my pet peeves when organizations try to just see what they can get away with in terms of low pay and taking advantage of their employees. Now, they wouldn't frame it that way, but that's how I frame it.
That's exactly what it is.
And that's sure what it seems like to me. And I completely agree 100%. We should be proactive about showing how we value our people, like showing them directly in ways that count. So giving them a pat on the back, saying, hey, good presentation, good job on this or that, giving them those positive reinforcements and feedback, that's great. But where it really counts is with how the benefits are set up, the raises, the bonuses. And like you said, it doesn't need to be a huge jump. You don't need to give them a $10,000 a year raise in order for them to feel appreciated. But regular acknowledgement of their contribution will not only keep them from leaving and going off to the next place looking for that next bump up, but it just engages them more in their current job.
Listen, it could be as simple as something as somebody listening to this right now says, I really can't, they're kind of maxed out. It can be as simple as something, hey, it's a nice day in Boston. Give them the Friday, half a day on Friday. Take off at noon and go get your beach clothes ready or do whatever you're going to do.
Exactly.
And it's just little stuff like that say, hey, instead of trying to get that extra 4 hours when we know that most people are not productive between after lunch and 5 p.m. on a Friday anyway, let them take off at noon and just say, hey, take the rest of the day off. I appreciate everything. You put in a lot of hard. They're going to come back on Monday morning ready to go. And you're going to get more out of them the following Monday than you would have the latter 4 hours of that Friday anyhow. So, I mean, you might, even if it's little stuff like that, picking up lunch every once in a while, if it's $7, $8, $10, $12 for lunch, those little gestures go a long way in maintaining that relationship. Because in some situations, depending on what the career is and what you're doing, you may need them to stay a lot longer, or you may need them more than they actually need the job. So those little gestures go a long way in maintaining those relationships and keeping your turnover down, because we all know as employers, turnover is very costly.
Yeah. And again, I like the way you framed that. Oftentimes organizations do think that they can kind of just treat their people however they want because their people need the job. They frame it the opposite way of what you just said. But given the current pandemic situation that we're in and high unemployment rates, perhaps in some areas that might be the case. But that's not the way it's going to stay. That's certainly not the way it was pre-pandemic. And we're in a fight for good talent. And
absolutely.
Every organization needs to be thinking about how to attract and retain and engage good people on a regular basis. And if we just treat our people like, they're disposable, it doesn't really matter. You're not happy, leave, I'll get someone else. If that's how we treat them, it's going to be a self-fulfilling prophecy. If we actually treat them though, like, yes, you are a highly valued person. I can see what you bring to the table. You help us to be better as an organization. And you treat them that way, you communicate with them that way, you pay them that way, then lo and behold, you're going to have great people who stick around.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's the key. I mean, it doesn't, you just said it, you're in a fight for good talent. I think most people look at employees as, you can trade one for another. But if you have somebody who's really talented, really good, somebody who actually puts the thought in, I love someone who doesn't just do the job, but says, Willie, can we move this over here and improve this? Can we change this around and flip this over here to make it a little bit more efficient? One of the things that I always encourage my people to do is also to replace themselves. I think that everybody should be in their highest and best use. My project manager on a job, I don't want her running from job site to job site to job site if it's, if that's not her highest and best use. So I'm constantly having conversations with her about continuing to put herself in her highest and best use, right? If her highest and best use, and she believes that I'm more important getting bids for our new jobs, talking to the roofer, coordinating our schedule, paying invoices, but I'm using too much of my time running from job site to job site, tell me that you need to go out and create another position, an intern or whatever, that you need somebody to assist you, so you are being more efficient. And that elevation of her hopefully elevates the entire company. And I try to do that across the board, is make sure that everybody or everyone here that works for the company understands that if they feel like there's a inefficiency in place, especially with their hours or their time, let's hire somebody to work underneath you to replace you and make your job more efficient and move you into a VP spot or whatever you want to call it. But just making sure that everybody in your organization is in their highest and best use. And it's a term that I use, quite often. Obviously not something I created. It's something that's been, a concept that's been around forever. But it's something that I, try to implement and try to keep flowing through my business on a regular basis. It's something I do with myself. My highest and best use right now is continuing to brand the company, continuing to tell people about our message and what we do, and go out there and look for more opportunities to invest in real estate within the market. My highest and best use now is not being on job sites, swinging a hammer and painting and doing demo and getting dirty anymore. So constantly elevating myself and then elevating my people to do the same thing with themselves.
I love it, Willie. I love everything about your philosophy and your mentality and how you approach your organization and your people. It has been a real pleasure talking with you today. The time has flown by. I would love to have you back anytime and we can continue the conversation. But before we part ways today, I did want to give you a chance to share with listeners how they can get connected with you, find out more about your business, and then give us the last word on the topic for today.
Yeah, sure. If you're interested in real estate, Cash Flow Secrets is my book. I just released it a few months ago. It's on Amazon. Cash Flow Secrets. If you are just interested in business building, financial literacy, my YouTube channel is where I spend most of my time. Is /W Mandrell, youtube.com/W Mandrell, or just Google me. I'm on Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook. What's the new thing that everybody's on? Clubhouse.
TikTok.
TikTok.
Clubhouse.
No,
yeah.
I'm not on TikTok yet, but I'm on Clubhouse, is the other social media platform everybody else is on. And then the last word of the day, I would say, is just don't be afraid to go out and leverage. The key to scaling is leveraging, people leverage, right? It's creating those systems, creating those processes, and then going out and finding somebody to replace you or to replace, that aspect of your business. So don't be afraid to go out and spend money. And you're not spending money, you're investing money into human capital. And I guarantee it'll grow your business over time.
Excellent. Thank you, Willie. It's been a real pleasure. I encourage listeners to reach out, get connected, find out more about what he can do for you and your business. And as always, I hope everyone can stay healthy and safe, that you can find meaning and purpose at work each and every day. And I hope you all have a great week.